Cape Town is a favorite destination for nomads or for those looking to follow summer around the world. With breathtaking mountain and ocean views, I can see why some people never want to leave.
South African homes have truly come into their own over the last few decades. Generic imitations have made way for modern masterpieces and character-filled spaces. Finest Homes explores these creations, talking to the visionaries who are bringing them to life. Join us as we explore some of these spaces, showcasing the architecture, interior design, and the landscape design.
I'm your host, Balisa Dembe, and this is Finest Homes.
In today's episode of Finest Homes, I visit a home at the foot of Cape Town's 12 Apostle mountain range. The neighborhood of Camps Bay is known for its incredible views and spectacular sunsets, but it takes an intuitive design team to create a home that speaks to its owner's particular needs. The architect studio responsible for this build is G², and I met up with founder Renato Grassa to learn more about how this home came to be.
Renato, let's just start off with the setting. What an incredible location. I'm sure that the owners had a lot to consider and multiple options when it came to what to do on this land.
Correct. So in fact, this used to be quite a well-known art gallery. It's an artist's residence in Camps Bay. It's a plot just under 1,000 square meters, which you can imagine is quite a hefty price tag in the Glen part of Camps Bay. And when they bought the property, they had some considerations in terms of how to maximize its value. So before they approached us, they actually went through the exercise of subdividing it and considering a townhouse development on the plot.
And what was the client's brief once they had decided on a residential build?
So just bearing in mind that they wanted to maximize the value of the land, that was the primary brief to us. So it was a house that could maximize its potential, maximize the views, and maximize the square meterage available to build on. So we actually created nearly 2 homes out of one plot, where it's over 3 levels can be split, with one independent floor acting as a unit and the other top 2 floors acting as a separate unit.
Renato, from the street, the house looks very layered.
Well, thanks for picking up on that. It was quite a challenge for us as architects to try and marry privacy, a noisy street, a busy corner, with a sense of privacy and offering of all the views and the potential light around the house. So with that in mind, what we wanted to do was break the scale down and not have a monolithic building as visible from the street. So we've opted for this light concrete floating roof above the block, and we've lifted that white block off the street by painting it a dark charcoal color and hiding the garage door, which no one likes to see.
Now, how did you go about plotting exactly what the clients wanted in terms of the layout of the space?
Right, so we've got a rectangular plot, longer on the street than it is deep from the street. So we get this long, skinny building. And how we've gone about maximizing the views is putting all the public spaces, so your living, eating, cooking spaces on the top, and your sleeping spaces in the middle and below. So what's weird about that is that the public comes in what is essentially a private floor. But we've put the public going up and then made this a big lobby that's light-filled, view-filled, and separates the bedrooms from the actual living space.
As we make our way up the stairs, the expansive views over the Atlantic seaboard start revealing itself.
Renata, this is absolutely breathtaking. With such spectacular ocean views, I guess the orientation of the home dictates for itself to favor these views. But what else did you have to take into consideration?
Absolutely. So you've got the wind, you've got the rain, you've got the sun, you've got neighbors, you've got privacy. So all of that inputted into the equation helped us sort of devise the answer here.
And what influenced your choice in materials?
First and foremost, it's all about the harsh South African climate. We're quite exposed up here. We get the wind, we get the sun. So it was really all about maintenance. They wanted a home that they didn't have to come back every 2 years and paint. So no timber on the exterior. We've gone for stone cladding that speaks to the actual environment. It's a Cape granite that comes from the actual Table Mountain. And we've gone for aluminium and glass, which is very easy to maintain.
And what are some of your key architectural highlights on this floor?
Without a doubt, there's an 18.5-meter long pool, 3 stories in the air, and it's got this infinity edge that just goes out into the Atlantic Ocean. We took it a step further. We actually added a hot tub at the end of the pool. So it's got these jets and all this warm water, which is great. So you can use it even in winter. My second highlight on this floor is that cantilever by the sunset deck. We've got this sunset deck there with its own fireplace, and in fact it's got a wine cooler in the coffee table built in. And instead of having the slab that goes all the way around and it cuts out the light, we wanted the rectangular design to continue, so we've got this cantilevered steel beam, which is quite an engineering feat on its own, in addition to this pool.
A very well considered space.
Thank you.
After the break, I continue the home tour and meet up with the principal architect for today's finest home, Francois Duplessis. In today's episode of Finest Homes, I'm visiting a house on Cape Town's Atlantic seaboard that ticks all the boxes when it comes to views, entertaining spaces, and a lock-up-and-go lifestyle. The owners wanted a place to call home when they're in the country, but a house that can also be let out to holiday makers when they're enjoying summers abroad. Before the break, I met Renato Grassa, founder of G Squared Architecture Studio, to talk about the client brief and some of the elements that needed to be considered. Now I sit down with the principal architect for this project, Francois Duplessis.
The ambiance of the space is spectacular. Francois, as the principal architect on this project, how did your vision match up to that of the clients?
This was a very interesting project. It was one of our bigger projects at the time, and the client came with a very clear idea of what they wanted. We implemented it obviously to have a G squared take and quite clean lines, which the clients really appreciated. They are both engineers, so they really enjoyed the cleanness and the programming of the different spaces and how these interlink.
Now, can you talk me through the layout of the space?
Yes, so if you come into a double volume space with a staircase, and from that space you are led either to the right, that would be the master bedroom, or to the left to 2 bedrooms and a gym sauna. This is very unconventional. You don't really enter onto a bedroom floor. But because of the amazing views on the top floor, we had to bring that living floor, the entertainment floor, the public floor, to the very top. So you enter into a bedroom floor, which is actually private, but we've created nice nooks that you don't really see into those bedrooms, but a big glass window in front of you to start introducing you to this incredible view. And then moving up the staircase, you get the living space, the dining space, the big kitchen, and then incredible outside living with a lap pool that's room flow.
Now, orientating a house that is west-facing comes with its challenges, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. In this case, we could not really do much about the orientation of the house. We had a very long site and we had to fit in quite a few bedrooms, all with ocean views, living space with ocean views. So what we have done is we have decided to do double glazing on the western facade. So all of these windows can close. On a hot day, the blinds can drop with a button. Or if it is not a windy day and maybe this time of day, all the doors can open. And it really just opens up the space. It's lovely if you sit in the dining room and you just have the ocean right at your doorstep.
I can imagine through all 4 seasons, this is quite premium real estate. But let's start with the main bedroom and bathroom.
Yes, the main bedroom is a jewel in this house. The scale of it, just the proportions is amazing. And as it leads off the front door, basically, we had to create this lobby space that leads to a walk-in closet or then to the bedroom, and the bed faces the ocean view. All the doors can just slide open, so on a beautiful day like today, you can just have that all open. And next to the bedroom, we created a courtyard. That's quite unusual before you get to your master ensuite. So there's a little space in between the bedroom and the bathroom that is lush with a tree, and it gives some shade in the late afternoon that helps with the sun shading. We've also created a eave in front of the bedroom for this afternoon sun not to shine directly into the bedroom. And then walking through this courtyard space, it's linked to the ensuite. And the ensuite has got a bath, a fireplace, double basins, raised showers so that when you're in the shower, you still have the view to the ocean, and a closed toilet for privacy.
That main bedroom and bathroom are truly giving me very tropical feels. However, I did notice that fireplace in the bathroom.
Yes. I was lucky enough that the owners gave me the property to stay in over a weekend. And it was a very cold winter's weekend in Cape Town. And I just put that fireplace on in that bath. It is so comfortable. It is luxurious.
That is so amazing that you got to enjoy a space that you created. Now, are gyms still a main priority for homeowners?
I believe they are, especially this house that will be rented out to different people, different times of the year. And I think if you are a busy business person or traveling, it's very easy to just use your home gym. And this gym is also equipped with a sauna, which is amazing just to sit there, open the screens, and you've got a view towards Table Mountain and the cable car.
And coming up the stairs, we are met by such an incredible living space.
Yes. So this is an open plan living space. We've also carefully positioned the columns so that when the glazing is open, all the doors are open, you just have very few little small columns that keeps up this roof. And that gives the idea of the roof floating over the space, just providing enough comfort from the sun and weather elements.
Now, they do say the kitchen is the heart of a home, and what a great job you've done with it.
Thank you. Yes, the clients were very involved in the kitchen. They met with the joiners. I sat in with most of the workshop meetings to make sure that the services are provided. The materials and the finishes were mostly selected by the client.
Leading us to the stunning lounge. Talk us through the design.
Yes, so because we have this big open space, we have to define spaces within a big open space. So we've decided to keep this lounge one step down and treat the floor as a different material. This gives quite an intimate, softer feel as to the rest of the space, but visually they are still connected. We also had to have quite a lot of joinery for the kitchen, but also you want a TV in a TV lounge. So that was a challenge that we had to overcome. And by having this central element, joinery element between the kitchen and the TV room, we could have fridges on the one side and the TV on the other side. In this space, we don't have a ceiling. So there was no opportunity to do ducted air conditioning, and there was no way we're putting a split unit in. So above those cupboards, we have two HVAC units, air conditioning units, recessed. So when they are on, they disperse the cold air upwards, and that just then falls over into the space.
Yeah, now, Francois, with the doors being able to completely open up, how have you been able to optimize the outside living and entertainment spaces?
Yes. So this is on the top floor. So we don't want the house to feel like an apartment. And that is a challenge when we're designing on these steep slopes where the view is really at the top. We have a long pool that is rim flow, and that color of the pool was carefully selected to match the color of the ocean. Now, the color of the ocean changes as the color of the sky changes, but we are very glad to say that that happens with the pool as well. So the line, that boundary line that would usually be your wall, is now just a line of water that blends into the ocean. So the space doesn't only stop where the pool starts, it actually extends into the ocean, which makes it feel much bigger.
And opening up all the sliding doors leads us effortlessly into the outside entertaining and living area.
Yes. So there's the outdoor area that we also utilize as a lounge. And beyond that, we call it the yoga deck. This was never planned. And we realized during construction, but we've got this opportunity to really make use of the roof, and that's over the master ensuite. And speaking to the clients, that's one of their favorite spaces to sit, just in that yoga area. We call it the yoga area, it's just because it's quiet and it's nice with the tree. But yeah, it's a lovely space for breakfast.
Stay with us as after the break, I sit down with both Francois and Renato to delve deeper into the layers that make for a finest home. In today's episode of Finest Homes, I'm visiting a house in the beautiful Camps Bay on Cape Town's Atlantic seaboard, a building that was designed by G Squared Architecture Studio. It's a house that makes the most of the expansive views while boasting an effortless minimalistic aesthetic. Before the break, I met with founder of G Squared, Renato Grassa, as well as the principal architect for this project, Francois Duplessis, to learn about the brief and the considerations that went into the design. Now I am joined by both creatives to conclude the home tour of this beautiful coastal home.
Sitting down with the both of you, what an incredible masterpiece you've created. But working on a sloped site does come with its own challenges. However, in this case, it's worked to your advantage.
Thank you. I think I'd have to agree with you on that. We worked on a number of sites in the Atlantic seaboard, and every single site is actually completely different. You either enter from the bottom, you enter from the top, you enter from the side. The site orientation could either be west-facing, south-facing, north-facing. And we actually look at those to help us design the building. In this instance, we've got neighbors on one side, but not on the other. So that gave us a clue. We entered off street level, we went up one level and then 2 levels below ground, essentially. But it all just worked out, and the design tends to reveal itself.
I agree with that. And with this site, we were fortunate enough to have the living space on top, which is the incredible view, and bedroom floors below this, but also with ocean views and screening the street that is on this side that's quite noisy.
Looking around the space, every window frames a spectacular view. Did this limit your design?
I don't think it limits the design. Because we work on 3D software, we do have the site modeled and we do have certain view lines that we want to enhance. So when designing in 3D, we can determine early on in the process what is the important things we need to capture. In this house, it was quite clear, it's the ocean on that side, the mountain and Lion's Head on that side. So it's 4 views that we need to frame. But how do you do that with still giving privacy to the house? And we've done that by screening off the street, but having a high-level window, just framing the Lion's Head. On that side of the house, that last bedroom, we have the ravine and Table Mountain. And on the front side, the whole house faces the ocean.
When designing a coastal home, what influences the use of materials?
I would say, bearing in mind that we're working with a very harsh South African climate, we've got no protection from trees or other buildings. You're in the sun, you're in the wind, you're in the rain, and you've got the sea spray. Materials such as timber, glass, aluminium, tiles, concrete, those are proven to have always worked quite well with us. And develop something that can develop a patina. So timber that goes dark, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's actually quite a good thing. So the building weathers a bit with time and it reflects that, but we also want things that are as maintenance-free as possible because no one likes cleaning windows.
With this house, we also looked at the palette of the site. What stones did you get on site? What timber? And using all of those colors, we were able to create a palette that I feel fits very nicely into a coastal home.
Yeah. Now, this might be a very difficult one, but what advice would you give someone who is building a house that's west-facing?
That is a very difficult one. So you've got horizontal light, which is always the most difficult light to control. North light's great because you can design overhangs, and with our 3D software, we can always predict what's the sun doing in winter, what's the sun doing in summer. The west sun, there's nothing protecting you from that. It's glaring, it's coming in sideways. So we tend to implement things like screens, double glazing, HVAC, setting certain building spaces back. In this lounge, for example, we've got a screen that comes down. It's filtered enough to allow you to have a view, but it cuts out a lot of the light. And you really only need it for that last hour in summer. It's great in winter, and just as soon as the sun drops below the ocean, the light is nice.
Yes, it's also important to use materials that reflects light. So when it is on the west side, avoid using materials that absorb the heat or absorb this light that you want to actually reflect off your building rather than bringing into the house.
And you both have blurred the lines between the exterior and the interior using materials.
Intentionally. Yeah, we really wanted this site. When we came onto the site for the first time, it was incredible what we saw. The 12 Apostles are framed like no other property we've worked with. The sea, you get the sunset here from winter to summer. So for full 12 months, you always get the ocean sunset view. So what we wanted was to really intentionally blur those lines. We've got these sliding doors that completely vanish. It's almost sometimes quite exceptional how we've managed to keep both a pool 3 stories above the ground and a roof that feels like it's being held up by toothpicks. So it was intentional, and it really was just about blurring those lines.
Yes, I think the threshold was a very big concept in this design, where the threshold is usually something that you can see and walk through. Here it's blurred, like you said.
Just touching on blurring of the lines inside and outside, you'll notice when we put these living spaces at the very top of the site, you're not connected to the garden. So how can you bring nature back in here? So in this instance, we were quite fortunate. We've got a couple of tree canopies around us. So you're feeling like you're in a bit of an elevated forest. We've amplified that by bringing in some planter boxes. So you're surrounding the sort of green lounge here. And that's the best we could do. Yeah.
And in your opinion, what makes for a finest home?
Great question. I think the easiest thing is always location. Views, light, simplicity. Part of G Squared's DNA in terms of designing the buildings we do, keeping them simple, keeping them clean, selecting materials that will going to age quite naturally, quite peacefully, and buildings that require very little maintenance, and honesty about the materials. And the one thing that we do love working with is light. Natural light, indirect light, and just working with the sun. And it's a free building material, so why not make use of it?
That's it for this week's episode of Finest Homes.